the direction on sales process. Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Mr. Sandon and Jess. Nice to see you.
We back here again, so we'll take the agenda item as read. I think you've all read it a few times over the last couple of years, and it's now 12 months since we originally delayed the sales process, so it's time to come back and visit it again.
Okay, and today we need to make the decision. Correct?
That's essentially what's being asked for, because we said we'd defer it for a year, so it's time to, I guess, make the call in terms of whether we're going to put it on and what that means. Yeah.
Okay, so which councillor would like to lead the charge? Councillor Harvey.
Can I ask, is there any update on what's happening around it with the land that used to be the taxi stand? Is there any...
I've only got hearsay, so I'd rather not repeat it in public. Nothing official, no.
No official update. Councillor Krastowski.
I'm happy to lead the charge on the second point. Look, for me, it comes down to, in principle, I have no problem, but I really struggle with the concept of doing urban planning, which includes traffic management and car parking on an ad hoc basis. For me, I have not seen our long-term strategies or traffic management plans for the city, which includes Tongariro Street, nor have I seen any strategies or master plan for our long-term parking requirements. And so from that basis, I struggle to let go yet another 27 car parks until I know and am satisfied that we are adequately planning for that in an urban planning type of scenario. Thank you.
Councillor Johns.
Through the Chair, I would signal and support Bernard's comments on this matter. I am not opposed to selling strategic assets to pay down debt. However, this is just solely focused on it from that point of view. I would like to have a wider discussion and to have a review of our wider urban management plan in terms of parking, etc. This is also a very sensitive, high-profile site, and yes, we do need to do something about it at some stage, but just to simply sell it off right now I don't think is right. And we have mixed views out there in the community on this matter, and I would just like some time to have some more discussions about that before we make a final decision. Part of the resolution to come back in 12 months' time was to review market conditions and see whether it was appropriate to sell. I'm not sure that's changed either at this point. So I would support, I would like to see it deferred and having a wider discussion.
So I think basically to clarify why we're here, we can only bring forward what we were directed to previously. The original decision did go into the parking requirements. There was quite an extensive parking study done to show where parking was needed. There was times done, there was timings. The site was visited multiple times a day along with all the other car parks. So there was a considerable amount of work done on the parking requirements. Now, time has rolled on, since then. And CISP identified the walkway, which in effect was going to reduce the amount of car parks there regardless. We couldn't have the car park and the walkway without sacrificing some, if not all. But certainly from our point of view as officers, we can only bring back what we were asked to bring back, and that was to either defer or sell. Now there's a process to go through if that's not the options for council, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Berry.
This was a key element of the review of the town centre. What did we call that document?
CISP.
And there was a lot of discussion around the loss of car parks at that particular stage, but it was at that particular time put forward as an idea, a strong idea within that document. And I just feel that we have a really large car park only 500 metres away. The street, in my opinion, is could look a lot better with a development and the walkway connecting through to Robert Street. If we don't make the decision today, we are going to have to spend money on resurfacing that car park and making it serviceable. So for me, we've got a strategic direction on our financial statements that we want to reduce debt, and I would be in favour of the resolution A.
Thanks, Mary. Councillor Cousins?
Chair, I'm probably a different train of thought to Councillor Hickling. We have an oversupply of buildings in town as it is for retail. I understand that it's an eating hospitality street and there could be some advantages to that. I would like to see it removed off the sell list altogether and we just park it up and we do something with it, because as Councillor Jolland says, something needs to be done with that site. I think it's a strategic asset that's going to be of benefit to this community in the future, long into the future, and the market is certainly heating up now in Taupo with property sales. Values haven't yet come back in, as Councillor Jolland's also said, and that's been confirmed by Councillor Harvey. Values haven't increased. I think at least it should be another 5 years before we look at selling that particular block, and we do something with it in the interim. We fix it up, because it's a bit of an eyesore at the moment. So I would recommend a different resolution be met today, and that is to remove it from the list and we redress it in 5 years' time, or something to that effect.
Okay, anyone else? Actually, just one. I noticed Nick's down the back there. Nice to see you, Nick. Sorry, Nick, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Just regarding Councillor Krastowski's question about the planning situation. Did you go into the car parking thing prior to the decision to make, to sell this piece of land? What was the discussion regarding the? What was the discussion regarding the parking and all that sort of thing at that stage? Or the planning, the studies done then?
I'm sure you could well imagine car parking was a pretty hot topic when we were talking about the town centre and planning for the next 20 years. We spent a huge amount of time looking over historical car parking issues. We'd done a number of surveys in the past. We'd done a number of surveys during the actual development of the structure plan itself. All of that work identified that we had an overabundance of car parking. Excuse me. Given, as has been noted, we haven't had substantial growth in the last 5 years, I don't believe there's any evidence that would suggest that that car parking situation has changed dramatically. In which case, I think I can sit here and say with a high degree of confidence that there is still ample car parking within the town centre.
From memory, I think it was about 80% was the highest we reached as far as car parking occupancy when we did the study, and that was for a brief period on the busiest day of the week. On average, it was dramatically less than 80% occupancy.
I should qualify though, if you wish to park outside the shop that you are going to, then there may well be a car parking problem in Taupo.
Just before Councillor Cousins, Councillor Krastowski, while Nick's here, have you got any? Yeah,
just in answer to that is that that is all on the assumption that you're looking at it from the status quo, from the position of status quo. We know from past historical facts, like the original commercial industrial structure plan, there were significant plans to alter the traffic flow in the city. If you were to take that into consideration and into the equation, your amount of car parking facilities would also dramatically change, both from location as well as availability point of view.
From a location perspective, yes. From an overall pool of car parking, I'd suggest no. You're quite right in that the previous town centre structure plan and our current policy document, the commercial industrial structure plan, both talk about the potential to reroute car parking along Te Raupinga Street and on Spa Road. What that does is it frees up Tongariro Street for redevelopment opportunities. Tongariro Street is a big street with a lot of capacity for additional car parking. One of the key messages that came through that structure plan, which is your adopted policy, was that car parking should be treated as a pool. So we've got a reasonably tight town centre at the end of the day. We've got a number of big off-site car parking spaces, and we have a large, like hundreds and hundreds of on-street car parks, some of which are time restricted, but a lot of which are not time restricted. That provides you a pool of car parking, and the idea is that over time you manage that pool. Now, the Environment Court evidence that was presented by an economist and a retail distribution expert on behalf of Council said that we are a town that's not facing massive commercial growth in terms of floor area. And as a result, our transport expert, who also appeared, said that we have sufficient car parking well into the future, and the flexibility with our 3 large off-site car parks to be able to manage that over time, particularly when you couple that with the significant amount of on-street car parking that we've got.
Okay. Thanks, Nick. Councillor Cousins, then Councillor Harvey.
Sorry, painful, but you've got car parks that are worth average money, and you've got car parks that are worth a considerable amount of money as a different entity to personal. Wouldn't you sell the ones that are further out, that people are likely to use less, and keep the ones that you know are well patronised? Would that not make sense?
I should probably qualify. I'm not a property expert. That's what this guy's called.
From a mobility point of view, for those who are old people who are in their cars, we're asking them to travel 500 metres to us is nothing, but to people who aren't, that car parks.
I wouldn't even want that.
I guess a couple of things in response to that. First of all, I think the 2 Whakaro Street car parks probably more like 200 metres. I think 500 metres would take you a long way. Secondly, you've still got a massive on-street car parks sitting in that block between Tongariro Street and Ruapehu Street. If you're concerned about people with push chairs, if you're concerned about people with mobility issues, then you have the ability as a council to identify more of those car parks specifically for those people. So fit young people such as ourselves have the opportunity to walk that 200 metres from your relatively underutilised 2 Whakaro Street car park.
Utilised in what manner?
As in, it's not sitting there at 100%. It's flash identified. It very rarely gets above about 75%.
5 o'clock on a Friday, that's all.
Yeah, not at night. It is pretty well packed at night.
Certainly is.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm definitely a similar view to Bernard and Zane and Roseanne. I think if somebody was coming to us with a wonderful concept plan for that street with something fabulous for several of those sites, then that would be different. But I think to sell it ad hoc, just a piece here and a piece there, to me doesn't make sense. And the market certainly isn't at a level at the moment where we're going to get huge money. It's not going to fly out the door at the moment. Yes, it's a bit better, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be great at the moment. And we do have plenty of commercial space at the moment that's not being utilised, as we are all aware. And that is a street where we have bars and restaurants all vying for business, and we certainly don't want to take car parks away from them, I don't think. That is very utilised, that car park. I see it being very utilised. In fact, when one does pop out, it's usually hard to find a space even in there. So I'm definitely not keen to do anything about it at the moment. I'd like to defer it probably for a year, and so let's see if any other interest comes out from the surrounding areas, and that's something a bit different that may come out of the woodwork. I'd be keen to know if that was going to happen.
Just on that deferral thing, we cannot defer it? Is that, what's the process there? Sorry.
I would suggest that there's a few issues in terms of how long, and we look at any deferral, and it possibly needs another report. Potentially there's stuff in here that we can canvass within that. The issue is really regarding our intent with what we've said. So as part of the long-term plan, we had a deferral for 12 months. As part of that, this was included in our projected sales targets and things like that. So there's a few issues regarding that we'd need to, I guess, flesh out in terms of if you're looking at 1 or 5 years, like you mentioned before, anything like that starts to get into re-evaluation territory as far as I can see under the LGA. So just to be...
So what's viable?
12 months would keep it within the
Right.
long-term plan, because it just means it's jolly swaps it from 1 year's figures to another year's figures. So that's, as far as, I think your question was around the process and whether we can extend it as far as local government acts is concerned.
Yeah, and can you?
Goldsborough's probably a better...
No, that was...
Yeah.
The other element that I guess comes into it is the costs of, in terms of any further deferral, there's the indicative cost that we talked about previously that we would be bearing, so we'd have to look into that. So I would suggest making a date or time frame regarding any deferral would be, I'd be cautious about doing that. I think is probably the best way to explain it to you. Yeah.
Could it be...
Yeah, there we go. Rob, deferral, is it possible or is it not?
You're on camera here.
I'm the lawyer, it depends. What it actually depends on is what are you deferring it to. If you defer it for another year just to have exactly the same debate, then you can't do it. If you deferred it for a year and said we will sell it, we make a decision now to sell it within the year, then you can do it. Because the problem is you get to another year and you continue to defer it. One of the things you're going to have to do if you decide that you are, I suppose one of the things you can't do is rewrite the SIS, for instance, here today. So what you have to do under Section 80 of the LGA is that if you are going to not comply with your own policies, and you have two that are relevant at the moment, the SIS and your long-term plan, which you just adopted, you're going to have to, under Section 80, identify that you are not going to comply with your own policy, why you're not going to comply with it, and are you going to review the policy that you've decided not to comply with, particularly the SIS. So that's why Jim is saying if deferral is an option, we probably really need to come back to you with more advice about those issues. Why might you be effectively why you might not be complying with your own policy? And are you going to review the system to take this part of the development out of it?
I, for one, would like to fully understand why, if we didn't sell it, we would be not complying with this policy when the whole process is about maximising the potential of our urban centre. I'm a little bit lost on that, so I wouldn't mind having a further discussion about those implications and understanding where we're at. I mean, I'm very much with these guys. Car parking is a discussion, but it's also about maximising the potential to enhance our inner city, in a township. And this is one of our last free, high-profile blocks. I don't want to just put it on the market and let it go for another couple of offices. It doesn't feel right.
Councillor Cousins?
I was looking at the impression that the councillors don't really have the appetite to be selling it, all for various reasons. But
Yeah, well, perhaps if I go round and let's cut to the chase, eh? Who wants to sell it and who doesn't? Bernard?
Not at this present point of time.
Rosie?
No.
No? Hannah?
We have to bite the bullet at some stage and make a decision, but If the majority of the council need more information, I'm quite happy to have a look at that information before making a decision. So it could be a politician.
So no?
I mean, I'm the same. I'd sell it with the right reasons at the right time, but not right now.
I just sort of think, like, we've finally, the ETA has finally been handed over to State Highway 1. Tongariro Street is now a local road. We don't know, Top Cabs is gone, all those buildings are empty. What's
it's a
happening?
shambles.
Like, I don't
It's a shambles, that's right.
It's a bloody shambles.
It's a shambles, all right, that's right.
I also don't agree
It's a nice building.
car park for farmers, staff and people on Robert Street for a quick through the alley up to their office either. So I'd have to abstain because I don't have enough information, Your Worship.
Abstain, okay.
Could I just offer some advice here? Because it sounds to me as though there's a lack of understanding of what CISP actually is. And it's a document that took 7 years to write and get through the courts to implement. So I think it's rather dangerous to be making policy on the hoof that is in disagreement with a policy that is incredibly important. So as a suggestion, how about we take this paper and let it lie? That we defer it potentially until the next council meeting, and in between now and then we have a workshop that actually briefs everybody what CISP is all about, the discussions that happened regarding CISP, and then we can perhaps debate some of these other peripheral issues in a bit more detail to get some knowledge and comfort around the room as to where we actually really are. Would that be an acceptable solution?
Why you want to do that, but we just seem to be doing the same thing every time we talk about this piece of land.
That's right.
It's weird.
Again. But what's the repercussions if we conflict with policy? What's the repercussions for us? Who's going to?
Because if you test your own district plan and you drive a hole through it yourself, it means that any potential future developer can use that as a course of action in the courts to drive other holes through your district plan. So we just need to be completely sure that we're not doing that by making a decision on the fly, because I don't actually have the answer for you at this point in time as to what the implication would actually be. And I think it's well worthwhile taking a bit of time to make sure we do thoroughly understand that. Would that be fair from your perspective, Nick and Rob? I'm just offering some caution here in terms of what we're doing.
I think there's also an opportunity to provide, because we went through so many processes to get to the decision, the last time round. There's a lot of information, for example, the car parking studies and things like that. I can bring you back the statistics around those types of things, which showed what the use of that particular car park was and what it compared like for the others. So that might add some comfort in terms of the more recent studies that we've done going forward, to just throw that in the mix there.
Do you want car park sold? That's the impression.
We're here to do your bidding.
So it's a completely unfair question of staff. However, what I would say is if you leave that space as a space the way it is, urban design principles tell you that you're making a mistake. So that's all I will say on that matter.
Well, let's defer and have that wider debate and discussion, because this just sell or no sell on the facts that are in this paper is not enough here to make an informed decision. So I'd be happy to defer.
So you're no, Zane? No? No. Barry's yes. Kirsty?
To defer and have a workshop about it?
Yep.
Is that the question now?
Is Rob's suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay.
For Rob's suggestion.
Yep. All right. Matter deferred.
Tuesday.
Good luck.